G'day everyone, Alex McKellar here again with another Top Slip TV race replay, Top Slip Racing race replay, mouthful there. We're back for Season 3, 2022. This time we're going to try and do something a little different. I'm going to try and follow the racing throughout the season, maybe try and do one a week, focusing on the big Saturday night racing that we're doing here for SkipJack, which is a Japanese strength of field on a Saturday night, my time, just to see kind of a tilt at seeing how far we get in the standings this season. Under the circumstances, based on limited by my talent and the availability of the high soft races, which is, I'm really thrilled. The Japanese thing's kicking along a bit, so gives us an opportunity to have some good quality racing with high strength of fields and good quality drivers too. So it's good. Speaking of which, we're up for round one this time from Okayama circuit, appropriate given it's the Japanese strength of field race. The short layout. So Adam Miles, the community rep, thrown up a curveball with a few short tracks this season, and it copped a bit of flack. But I gotta say, I've enjoyed the racing and the laps that I've done here this week. Only 7 corners, but a lot of room to move in terms of how you approach them, and the racing's pretty intense as well. So it's been good. All right, let's take a look at the grid for tonight. It is the Japanese strength of field, so there are a good number of Japanese drivers there, which is good, although notable in his absence was current SNL and official season champion Naoya Nagai. So hopefully he turns up for SNL tonight to try and defend the title. We'll see how we go. But Takumi Yamato, in true Japanese fashion of recent seasons, stuck it on pole. The Japanese guys are really strong in quali in the past few seasons, and this was no exception. I managed to stick it on the front row next to him. Kevin Budgeon from UK and I, Nippy Racing, he's in third there. Kokubu Hiroki, he's the new fella coming along, and I think he'll be one to watch. Shorter, of course, in P5 off the grid. He organises the skipjack, so great to see him up there. And Sasaki, who finished second in SNL and second in the official season last season, so it was a Japanese 1-2. He's in P6 off the grid now. My current great rival, Vasco Sorowski. He's starting out at 7th. We're pushing each other to be better at the moment. It's a great little rivalry we've got going there. It's good fun. And Captain 499 Neil Gardner there in 8th. Great to see some of the old guard of the ANZ Skippy racing community that I'm part of, certainly. And Russell Clark was there. And as we go over the page, we saw the return of my teammate, down in 18th, which was surprising. AJ, Alex John, he the good doctor, he's a really strong driver. Must have had a whiff in quali, unfortunately, because he although he hasn't been doing a lot of racing the skips, he's very strong. And in the warm-up race to this, he was much further up the grid, so tough to move forward in this as well. And Ben Snell, of course, the other Team Milo driver in the field. Great to see Ben back in there, back from the drifting. And back with us in the skips. Always have a good night. And all of us were in. And Greg Adams, the other clown in the race, we're all of us in Discord having a laugh, which was great. All right, so 25 laps. Why don't we get ready to have a look? Challenging circuit, of course, to get stuff done. And interesting. It's one of those places where you got to do a bunch of stuff to try and make a pass happen. It can often be, a full lap or more to set something up. And anyway, let's see how we go. 25 laps, starting from second. Let's get underway. So I got a reasonable off the line. I got ahead of a better jump than Kevin behind me, so that meant that I could pull in behind and take a more natural racing line, didn't have to defend. The race before, I got a better jump than the guy in front of me. I qualified third. And just right here, buried the nose almost in the wall on the inside apex of turn 3 there, which stuck me back almost to the rear of the field, which was pretty disappointing. I'm building up to these races on a Saturday night each week is the plan. The way the point scoring system works, of course, it's an aggregate of groups of 4 races. So if you do 4 races, it's your best race points-wise in those 4. And if you do 5 to 8 races, it's the average of the best 2 races of those up to 8. So, look, it's a balanced system. I think it's pretty good for what it is. It limits, you know, you could do 1,000 races and just grab your best one, but that sort of disadvantages those who can't do all those races. So, yeah, look, you got to plan out your season, and my plan this time is to try and do about 4 a week and get the best points that I can. So, pretty line astern at this stage, starting to think about, and you can see already I'm taking different lines. I attacked the apex early there. The corner there is quite long, so you can afford to attack it a bit in my view, rather than open it up too much, because the corner's so long you can still get the car rotated and around. That's at turn 4, of course. This final corner is so important because the primary passing opportunity, of course, is at turn 1. And you can see not only the grid was separated by less than a second, the whole grid, all 19, as I show the nose there and put Yamato off his line. It was kind of a late move, really, if you look at it on reflection. But a lot of it's, you've got to try and disrupt the guy in front and get him off his line. Otherwise, the opportunities, they're hard to come by. The whole grid, as I said, in quali was separated by less than a second. And you can see it's essentially one long draft train, with the exception of Kuroda, who looks to be out. So we've moved up 1 spot. I should have mentioned this was just shy of 4,100 strength of field. Strongest one of the week so far. And that's, of course, before we hit SNL, which is tonight my time. Round 1, 21:15, 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern, GMT plus 10. Best Skippy racing going around. Top Split TV on Twitch, go check it out. Of course, all the race replays will be here on this YouTube channel here, the Top Split. So I've been practicing a fair bit. You can see I'll take second gear through that series of corners, trying to hold momentum. I sometimes drop down to first in a pack, but trying to keep momentum up through there. See, it's still a very, very long line of skippies. It will be tremendously interesting to see how SNL plays out tonight. You're going to have, you know, somewhere between 15 and 20 potential race winners all trying to figure out how to get to the front. And the margins are so tight here. You really have to think a little bit out of the box and how to set up an overtake. You can see I'm still 2/10 ahead of Yamato. He didn't have an opportunity there. Kevin in third's the wild card for me in here. He's quite a character. I like Kevin's character, and he's willing to try stuff. His mindset is one of attacking, and well, we all want to get our best result, right? But he adds a bit of spark to the racing, that's for sure. My recent experiences with Kevin were, unfortunately, went south. I'm thinking back to the Hungaro ring when I just overshot and unfortunately took Kevin out and cost him a spot in a really big SNL race. I was so disappointed, but as was he. Now Yamato is close this time. I leave room on the inside. I wasn't looking to defend. I was really caught in two minds, and we're still side by side through here. Leave room on the inside again. It's very, very tight. You see I did duck down to first gear. Leave room. Oh, we had a little bit of netco there. You see I left room on the outside. And then Kevin, this is what I mean, the wild card. He's taken advantage. He would have taken the natural line through there and then poked it up the inside of Yamato on exit, and he's on my outside here. But again, good racing room left, and I can only imagine he lifted there, like acknowledging that I had the line there, and you know, you don't, at this stage of the race, we're 6 laps in, or we're coming to the end of, out of 25, there's a real balance between how much you want to battle and really just, I guess, suck the rest of the field behind you into the race. Or, as he's done here, this surprised me though. I thought he was setting up for a move there. He had a legit shot, but he pulled out. He did more than show the nose. He really poked it in there. And I don't know if he was looking to force a mistake or he just backed out of it because he didn't think he had it. But I left in the room there. I legit thought he had it. So, and again, you see what I mean about it. Kevin's willing to try stuff. I'm going to hazard a guess to say he's looking to upset my run and take advantage of it, which at a track like this is, yeah, absolutely legit. You really want to try and put people off their lines, because if we're all running the same lines, the draft isn't enough here. You barely scratch 5th gear, and on this main straight here, it's the closest thing to draft past opportunity you get, but it really, all it does, the draft on this longest straight, is put you in a position where you might be able to attack. Certainly doesn't guarantee a pass. So it really makes that final sector, and in particular the final corner, crucial in both attack and defence. Of course, the other potential opportunities on the back of this second sector here, up into turn 4 at Redmond coming up. You can try and manufacture something here if you get a good run through the second sector, but again, you're inside here at 4, but at 5 you're outside. So realistically though, you could then use that, if you don't get it done there, you can use that to disrupt the run through to this final corner and then attack them again at 1. So there's a lot to think about in terms of setting up an overtake here. So again, as I was saying previously, before we got interrupted by that big battle, I was, depending on when the race was, as you see Yamato putting pressure on Kevin behind, I was trying to think about when it was okay to let someone through and when it was too late to let them through, based on how difficult I thought it was going to be to get back past them versus how much time we would lose in battling, right? And at this circuit, I think on reflection, after the race and the benefit of hindsight, I think probably defending the position if you're in front might be the way to go, because you might cost yourself some time, but there really isn't the opportunity, even in this this bunched nature of the race, of the field itself, there really isn't the opportunity for anyone to take massive advantage. You're not going to get freight trained, I don't think. You're not going to lose 5 positions. You might lose 1 or 2, but you were going to lose that at least 1 if you just gave up the position and left the door open. So that's not the approach I took in this race, but it's one I'd probably consider contextually, depending on how the race was, if we were here again. So at the moment, I'm really focused on hitting my marks. I take quite a tight line there on the entry into 5. A lot of people open up that corner. As I said in a forum post earlier this morning, there's only 7 corners on this track, but there's enough scope for style and how a driver will approach a corner contextually within a race, or based on how they get through things faster, as Kevin has a look, to really leave a good amount of character in this track. So despite what I just said, during this race, I left the door open. I wasn't going to defend, and my mindset here in this occasion was, okay, let Kevin through, because I think I would rather try and attack him down the track than lose too much time to the pack behind. But there again, the pack behind's like, so guys, I think we were still about, I don't know, 14, 15 deep at this point, which is crazy when you think about it. We're 11 laps in, almost halfway. And the laps are just ticking by. it's funny, you know, you think 25 laps, it's a long time. And I was reflecting with the guys last night, that's the same number of laps from memory as it was at Knock Hill. But I found the racing here a lot more engaging than at Knock Hill. But other people will have different opinions, of course. I pulled out there, not even to attack or defend, really. It was just to hold position and not make use of any draft. Let Kevin run his lines. So at this point, we're coming up on about the halfway mark of the race, and I'm starting to look at Kevin in front, both in terms of making a pass, which I ultimately, of course, need to do, but also I'm thinking about where in the race I can do that, and where's he strong, and where is he, or where I might be stronger. Right. And he's got a good, you can see there, he's got a good drive out. There's very little going forward or backward in the relative positions of our cars. So I'm starting to, at that point I went, oh gee, all right, let's see what next lap brings, because I know that I really need to nail the exit of the final corner if I'm any chance to make an impression. I've really got my eyes forward at this point. It's funny, it's something that I've fallen into recently, where I really have this intense focus forward, and I often don't look as much. You can see the tighter angle that I attack that corner on than Kevin, who opens it up and looks to maximise exit speed. But because it's such a short straight, there's not a lot of benefit to that in my view. Yeah, this intense focus forward, I don't tend to notice as much behind me. It's kind of like an 80-20 split, so I'm more focused on Kevin in front and how I can attack him, rather than necessarily how I defend from Yamato behind. That would, of course, immediately shift if I were to make a mistake. If I were to make a mistake, even a minor one at a circuit like this, and I immediately, you got to check, oh, what's the relative, what's the position of Yamato's car, what sort of run has he got, and shift from attack to defence. And it's part of the intensity of Skippy racing, but certainly at a circuit like this as well. I felt I had a bit of pace through that second sector, but of course there's really nowhere to use it, because this short, again, it's a short straight. I've been holding third gear there rather than clipping into fourth, and holding first gear between the two apexes at 4 and 5 to try and, originally I was shifting up in both locations to fourth and second respectively, and I was using the gear shift down, particularly at turn 5, to help rotate the car. But in the name of kind of simplifying those corners a bit and focusing on line and things like that, I ended up sticking just in the lower gear, which historically at this circuit you got to be careful of, because in the longer version it's been known to blow engines, because you're right on the edge of the gear ranges. See, I'll close up through there a bit again. I didn't take advantage of it, like I sort of got a bit unsettled myself because of the different lines that we were taking and the different relative speeds. Meant that yeah, I could have been more aggressive on the throttle application there, but I wasn't. I was caught a little unawares. But yeah, as I was saying, historically in the longer version, because you're so tight behind, the draft keeps you quite close here, and a lot of these corners, and turn 4 and 5 are an example of this layout, you're right on the edge of the gear range on the limiter. You find that the temperature of the engine can get quite high, and historically the thing, we've got to run here, a lot of engine blowouts. Now Kevin also didn't defend, in fact he braked quite early there, facilitated the pass. I felt a bit bad about that one. I think he was looking for the over-under, so I went to cover, and then when he went back out, I went back to the left a little bit to open the corner. Yeah, I didn't feel good about that one. It was a kind of a natural instinct. I wasn't trying to block him. I left a lane on the outside of the entry still, but you know, as close to a block as I'd ever like to do myself. Apologies if you felt that way, Kevin. Yeah. Anyway, in the context of the race, there's still another 9 laps to go after this one, where he can have another crack, which is good. So we've got a decent gap, relatively speaking. He's no threat of overtaking on this lap. Just within the 2/10 by the end of the straight. And some people take second gear through there, which is absolutely valid. I sit in third in the higher gear. Bit focus on hitting that green apex curbing at turn 2. Very easy to sort of be half a car width off that, and it costs you time. So we're still in this race-long battle here. And it's interesting, given the pack's so deep, still we're at 12 cars before there's a decent sort of gap. Should try again to nail this corner. I think we've done enough. The race for me is really confined to just 2 or 3 cars. Kevin, Yamato's on as Yamato shows the nose. Kevin had half a look. He was more defending Yamato though. As you know, we've got a handful of laps to go, and Yamato's starting to get itchy on the trigger finger to get an overtake. Not surprisingly, because it's tough. He's got to make 2 moves to get to the front if he wants to, remembering that he put it on pole, of course. Oh, then Kevin got a good run out of there, didn't he? Right on my tail, within 2/10. In fact, he's right there. I was very focused here on my exit. You can see I used all the track that time, and it sort of opened up that 10th. And at this stage of the race, I was still thinking leave the door open. You can see I moved to the right and then moved back to the left to leave the door open. But Kevin, once again, he showed the nose, but didn't really take the move. Whether he thought he was too far back, or look, he moved to the right there to show that Yamato didn't have an opportunity to go up the inside rather than attack me. And I think here, and again, remember I was talking about that 80-20 split of looking forward versus looking behind. I feel like he may be more of a 70-30 worried about Yamato. Maybe 70% on me and 30% on Yamato, or maybe even a bit more, 60-40, I don't know. But it certainly helped me to have eyes forward a lot at the moment. Obviously it's a different scenario here. Although I've got to tell you, I'm still probably 70-30 because I'm trying to hit my lines. The best thing you can do in terms of eyes forward when you're in this kind of position, in my view, is focus on hitting your marks, hitting your lines, and then seeing these kind of situations where you're in the passing opportunities and the final corner, you make that assessment. What's my run out of the final corner like? Where's he positioned in terms of the relative? Where do I need to think about positioning my car to attack, or in this case defend for turn 1? Those sort of things you've got to be able to keep in your mind. Again, similarly here, is he close enough? No, he's not, so we're fine. Again, my tighter line there. Through turn 5 now, through 6. Probably not the greatest effort there. Trying to use as much of the track as we can. So he's a bit closer this time, about half a tenth closer. He may well try and have a look. And it's getting the stage of the race with 5 laps to go that I'm less inclined just to give him the corner. But again, he showed the nose and pulled back. I don't know what he was thinking there. Maybe I'll try and have a chat with Kevin after. I don't know if he was defending or what he was thinking there. Or maybe, you know, maybe he was thinking, well, look, I'll have one final shot at the end and keep my powder dry until then. And then, because I reckon there's a fairly valid strategy to be had of making your move 2 or 3 laps at the end, because you're then limiting your risk of counterattack to just a couple of laps. And that person then behind you that you've just overtaken has got to absolutely nail those couple of opportunities that they've got left. Having said that, if you don't make the move, you've got to do exactly that as well. So there's a lot to consider when you think about it. Alright. So he's even closer still this time. And I'm thinking, no, it's time to start defending. No more leaving the door open. So you can see I move right over, and then I move back, leaving a good width on the outside, and then park it on the inside of the circuit. So he's got to go around the long way, the next two apexes. Anyway, he goes a bit deeper there. I'm down to first gear this time. Leave him room on the inside so that he's got it. But try and use all the track on exit and get the better drive. Am I clear? Can I take the racing line? Yes, I can. That consistently sharp run at the apex there at turn 4 helps as a deterrent as well. It's not the main reason I do it. For me, it's the fastest way I've found to go through the corner. But it really, I guess, if you're sitting behind, makes you think, well, that's not necessarily going to work unless I'm right alongside. He really needs to be alongside. So this time I went straight over to make defence, but then Kevin didn't either get the run or he lifted or something. I must have either had a better run or he decided he didn't quite have the run. Because he wasn't close enough that time round. At 23 now, the chips are starting to be anteed up on the table. Again, he's a bit too far back on the exit of the second complex there. I'm going to turn 4 at Redmond, now through to Hobbs. We'll brush on the brakes to rotate. Careful you don't grab too much curve and get the rear wheels spinning. I like to try and get the front wheels on there, but get the angle of the car so the rear doesn't grab too much curve and spin up the drive wheels. See, we got a bit of a gap there because Yamato's had a look. I was so focused on what I was doing there, I missed it. And at this point I'm going, you beauty. So we'll have to have a look at that. Lap 23. Oh man, it's all happened behind. There's a bust up behind. And I'm away. So lap 23, start on lap 24, that was the pivotal moment. And now all of a sudden we got a 1.8 second lead. Now it's head down, bum up, eyes on the prize. Hit your marks. You know the times are tight here, so all you're looking to do is maintain that gap. Keep him out of draft. All you got to do is keep him out of draft. We hit the white flag this time round. 7 corners, Alex. 7 corners. Yeah, that was a pretty big bust up. I'll go back and have a look. Because that was obviously the key race defining moment. So caught up in what I was saying there, we missed the key moments, but obviously it was lap 23, and I suggest it probably started about here. There we go on the exit. Penultimate corner now, Michael Knight, and then the appropriately named last corner. There you have it. We've got a win in the opening foray of our campaign for Season 3 2022. Alright. That was a good one. Exciting, intense. A lot to think about in those 25 laps. Which was good. All right, let us go to far chase view, and we'll go back a couple of laps. Oops. Yeah, this was it. All right, let's see what happened. So there was a bit of a gap. Yeah, here it comes. All right, so it's Kevin in the blue car, Yamato in the pink and yellow car. Let's see what happens here. Because this is where the gap opened up. It looks pretty run-of-the-mill. Kevin went deep. Oh, all right. I don't know why I didn't check this on the night. So Kevin goes deep and outbraked himself a bit, and then Takumi Yamato comes underneath, and then yeah, who's that? That's Kokubu. Yeah, Kokubu gives Yamato a bit of a touch. Kevin gathers it up. Yamato does really well actually to pull it up. What's happening behind now at this stage? Oh, it's all bunched up. Look at this. Everyone's thinking right at the end. Like, it's all checked up there. Very little. Look, that's really well done by everyone there. The intensity is right up. You see Vasco, my chief rival, poking the clown car in there. Look at him. And then everyone gets it back settled. Yeah, right. Okay. So then this was the key moment. So at that point, I think I was about 0.8 of a second. I went, nah, no draft for you lot. But then Kevin, look at this. This is what I wonder about his mindset. See how he didn't try and follow me at all. I think he was so intent on his mirrors. And then this, oh yeah, and looks like Yamato's just overshot, actually. Let's just see here. Because he's not really there. See, the braking zone commences. You see those... tyre marks about here. At the start of your stint, your braking zone is here, right? At the end of the stint, it's sort of maybe here, and you can see Yamato's nowhere. He's nothing beside, so he's real hard up as we go through to pull that up and make a move. Kevin does really well, leaves some room, but you see Yamato's never making that, and yeah, Kevin's line's good there in terms of, yeah, you can see as he rotates the car to there, it's gripped up, and you can see he's actually opened the wheel a bit to allow for the mistake, but the margins are so tight. Let's look at his cockpit. Yeah, you can see there the wheels opened up. Oh, jeepers, grab a tear off, mate. You see he's already opened up the wheel to counter steer away from Takumi. Yamato is making the mistake. Yeah. So as we continue through, Yamato's, he's not making that Drifterino style. I'll be honest, I think it would have been a struggle for them to catch, or given that I had that 0.8 of a second with only sort of 2.5 laps to do it. They would have got close, but probably not in a position to overtake. But poor old Kevin there. Oh, and he's just got road trained. There's my rival in the blue and yellow clown car. And that was it, I think, by then. So Kevin's fallen back to what's that, P7. Yeah, P7. And then old mate McKellar, he's cheering, he's off to the races. And Yamato, he's finished down in 18th by the looks. That's a bummer. All right, let's go quickly check the results and a couple of things. So we grabbed top spot. I was pretty happy with that. A couple of seconds. So we made a couple of tenths in those last 2 laps. Kokubu, he's one to keep an eye on, I reckon. I don't know if he'll win the SNL and stuff, but I think give him a season or two. Yeah, Shorter, of course, that organises it here on a Saturday night. Great to see him grab a podium too. Sasaki, last season's runner-up, of course. Look at all the Japanese names in the top 5. That's great. And then my rival, chief rival and head clown, Swarovski, he's in 6th. Kevin hung on for 7th. Captain 499, Neil Gardner, having a strong season already after finishing so well in last season. Yeah, he's in 8th. Snell, the leading Milo driver, in 9th. AJ, my teammate, down in 13th, made up a few spots by the looks, which is good, up 5 spots. He and Russell in 14th unfortunately had a moment. AJ redressed and they got back to it, I think, eventually. And then the other clown in the field was Greg down in 17th and Yamato all the way down in 18th. And if I just quickly look over, yeah, Kuroda there for some reason didn't take the grid. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, while we're here, let's just take a quick look at a couple of things because we're going to try and track the season is the plan. The race result there, so it was as I said, it was just under 4,100 strength of field. The important point for me, of course, was 238 championship points. I'm trying to snaffle those at the moment. That's the plan. So as we're going to track the season, at the moment that puts me actually on top because that was the highest SoF so far, but that's pre-SNL. Okay, so if we look at these going forward, we've got to remember it's pre-Sunday Night Lights where the big boys really come out to play. So if I can hold a top 5 out of that, I'd be pretty happy. But yeah, we'll see how we go. And we're going to track it throughout the season, see what we can make of a full season in the skips. Anyway, folks, that will just about do us. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you'll come along for this journey for the season. We'll see how it goes, see where we can get to. But yeah, thanks for joining in. Look forward to seeing you again, perhaps on the Top Split TV Twitch channel tonight for the opening round of season 28 of Sunday Night Lights. Of course, we've got prizes on offer this week for this season for Infinite Racing Services. So go check it all out. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and until next time, ciao for now.